Well, what is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Hope everyone is doing well. Glad to be back on our YouTube page, and we're very happy that you all have joined with us. It's Thursday, it's 1 o'clock Eastern time, and that is our slot for the football season to have this live show to talk some Notre Dame football recruiting. Getting into the football season and really looking forward to the high school end of things as we go out and see prospects on the road. And it is going to be a very eventful fall when it comes to Notre Dame recruiting. Sure, they'll get some 2026 commitments, and they will get going on the 2025 class as well in terms of Notre Dame's got several spots left. They're going to be working on some players. Kyle, you excited for it, my friend? How are you doing?
Yeah, man. Football officially back. We're going to have Florida State, Georgia Tech on Saturday. We've seen a ton of NFL preseason games. High school football is already started in Hawaii and down in Georgia. And now here where I am in the Midwest, things are getting going tomorrow night. So I'll be out in Fort Wayne and all across the Midwest every Friday night throughout the fall. So I'm pretty pumped, man. I've kind of been telling everyone this summer it's just kind of felt a little bit boring just with maybe a little bit limited Notre Dame access in terms of the camps, the number of camps we've been to in years past, and then some of the fall camp practices. And like as many of our viewers and subscribers, everyone probably knows, not a whole lot happening in Notre Dame recruiting in 2025 and 2026. 25, we're all on Deuce Night watch. They're putting wide receiver recruiting under wraps. And then 2026, whereas last year at this time, a lot of momentum was building for some commits. And I know you created some momentum earlier this week with your picks, which I'm really excited to dive into.
Momentum's not the right word, but
Excitement.
Excitement.
But, I think they're going to take things a little bit slower, be a little bit more strategic and patient in the 26 cycle. So
yeah,
that's the rundown of where we're at and where we're heading.
Yeah. You know what, Kyle? I've heard that as well, what you just said about the 26 class, and I remember our debates about quarterback recruiting, how you wanted them to go slow. So I wonder if they listen to the show.
I doubt it.
I'm looking at the YouTube chat. Everyone's talking about Deuce Night. I mean, I talked about this in a YouTube video a couple days ago with Darren Pritchett, and I mean, it's not looking good. Jeffrey Lee, the On3 Auburn website, logged a prediction for Night to flip. That, of course, follows Steve Wiltfong of On3 logging a prediction a few weeks ago for the same thing. And then Night is visiting Auburn next weekend. So, and I also posted about Night and Lucky Charms last night. So that it's not looking promising. We'll just leave it at that. That's pretty much the gist. So yeah, we do have some predictions, and yes, TP Adam here says making predictions before silent commitment. You guys know that's my thing, and I don't change them, right? So if I've logged a prediction for a prospect and it's wrong, and then I know that he's like just made a silent commitment. Okay, so let's say I pick Kyle Kelly to go to Notre Dame, and then I hear Kyle Kelly has committed to Miami of Ohio. I will not then change the pick from Notre Dame to Miami of Ohio because I'll just take the L's. So my all-time percentage of On3 predictions is 70%, which I'm sure compared to my contemporaries is rather low, but I will take it because of how I do things. That's how I do things,
Like, you should clarify though that
please,
if for example, there's someone that you logged to Notre Dame early.
No, use you as the example, Kyle Kelly.
Yes. No, for me, I mean, I've kind of adapted your policy. Like, we don't want to be doing different things on the same site. But so just for example, I logged a TJ Davis pick, the linebacker Thomas Davis Jr. out of North Carolina to commit to Notre Dame. And for some reason, if we start hearing behind the scenes that Notre Dame's fallen out of the mix and say,
I'll move it. Yeah.
Clemson, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, one of those teams is kind of emerging and taking the lead, like, we're going to switch our pick
Yeah,
to
I'll switch the pick as long as, to my knowledge, like if he's made a silent commitment elsewhere and I don't know about it, like what am I supposed to do about that? But yeah, I'll switch picks. I actually think in Lucky Charms tonight, I'm switching 2 of my picks that I've made. So find out about that soon. So yeah, like, but to my knowledge, they haven't given silent. I would rather be wrong about my pick for a kid going to a school that's not Notre Dame than be wrong about a kid who I've predicted to Notre Dame, if that makes sense. Right? Like if I flip my Kyle Kelly pick from Notre Dame, I just want to get off of Notre Dame. So let's say I flip it to, Stanford. I'm okay with taking an L on that one. I just don't want to, as much as possible, be wrong on. I don't want people to go to Kyle Kelly's recruiting profile and see this, 5-star tight end and be led astray that he's going to Notre Dame. If I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's going to Notre Dame, I'll just switch it to whatever school I think's leading at the time. I know this is so much semantics. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show. But I do appreciate, Kyle, you bringing up the clarification. Hit the thumbs up, folks, if you're watching on YouTube. Of course, subscribe to our channel for more content, whether you're watching live, watching back. Appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up. Of course, subscribe. And if you're listening via podcast, appreciate you as well. Would ask if you can hit the or subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe here. And, of course, leave us a nice review. Just noticed my camera's kind of off. I'm going to have to fix that in a minute. But yeah,
looks fine.
Oh, well, it's like I got too much space over here. I just gotta.
Now you're good.
I'm gonna do it in a minute. Don't you worry. It'll take a second. Anyways, I did log 7 new predictions for Notre Dame in the 2026 recruiting class. I couldn't fit it into the YouTube headline, so I wanted to put like 2026 predictions. I didn't want people coming in here thinking, oh, he's logging a bunch of 2025. It is 2026, so guys who are just starting their high school junior seasons, and for all this prediction talk, like I also like to do these like long-term projections. I think it's fun. Like when I predicted Mark Zachary last year in August, and he commits the next May, like that's fun. Right, that's a 9-month in advance prediction. So that's also part of these August predictions that I do. Went hot last year. We'll see if I can make it 2 years in a row. So Braeden Jones from Chicago Mount Carmel. Kyle, I'll give you the floor a little bit more on this one because you cover his recruitment a lot closer than I have. But my sources are really buzzing about where things stand between the Fighting Irish and Braeden Jones. He's been to Notre Dame 3 times. All of those trips coming since April, and he was just on campus as recent as June 11th. So, Kyle, you wrote an article, Notre Dame football hosts on 300 recruits on unpublicized visit back-to-back days. So that was the most recent time you wrote about him. You also got to see him in May. I believe this was from that Tom Lemming photo shoot. So, yeah, again, my sources feel like Notre Dame's going to be able to get this one done. Visits have gone really well when he's been in South Bend. But I'll turn it over to you to hear from his recruitment.
Yeah, this is a guy that I've talked about on our loose emoji message board for quite some time that I think Notre Dame's in pole position for. And I always put the caveat that if Ohio State offered Braeden Jones, that was the team I was going to be most concerned about. And I think that still remains the case and why I personally held off on the prediction for Notre Dame to land him. But I've also mentioned on this show my past experience covering Ohio State football recruiting. And this is, from what I've kind of learned covering recruiting in general, this is the case in all throughout college football, that usually when a recruit has like a dream school, they never really seem to end up there for like which reason. Like just for example, David Sanders Jr., 5-star offensive tackle, who was a one-time Notre Dame offeree. Guy grew up idolizing Clemson, and they didn't even finish in his top 4 despite getting an official visit. And Sanders, who had one of the most highest profile recruitments in this cycle in 2025, ended up committing to Tennessee. So Braeden Jones, Ohio State is his dream school, idolizes Larry Johnson. But I think this is a case that similarly to like Christopher Burgess in the last cycle from Chicago, Notre Dame has just done a much better job of recruiting him and recruiting him early. I know you've reported back in the spring that some people around Notre Dame feel like this is kind of like their must-get recruit in the 26 cycle, especially from Chicago. Chicago, Mount Carmel, that's a place that Notre Dame needs to make inroads at, always has top talent on an annually or biannual basis. So I really like the pick here. Like I mentioned a lot, I've been close, and I'm going to see Braeden, I think, sometime in September. I'm going to catch up with him, kind of get a vibe check of where things are at. But one thing did stand out with me, or stand out to me with this pick, and in fact, the same thing stood out with another pick that you made that we're going to discuss later. But Braeden Jones actually retweeted your tweet, or
Did he
somebody.
really?
I think someone aggregated your pick, and he retweeted that you had picked him to commit to Notre Dame. So I remember talking to him in April, and yeah, there we go. I remember talking to Braeden in April, and I was like,
Dang,
you
I
committed?
mean, what do we Ryan, if you're watching this, what I mean, think you can't even tag me in your tweet, dog? Like, what? Can't even have like a link to the On3 profile. I mean, come on, Ryan. My boy Ryan, what you doing? All right, go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think Notre Dame's in the lead here, and I'm glad that you reflected it with your prediction.
Yeah. Yeah. What is there anything that you would want to see moving forward in this recruitment? This is just kind of my curiosity on how you operate. Like, is there anything you want to see from him in his recruitment moving forward? Is there any like thing you want to hear when you talk to him? It's just kind of like a gut feel, like for you to log the prediction for him for Notre Dame. Like, what's kind of your thought process?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is just to see if he does make it down to Columbus this fall, and like if Ohio State was everything that he kind of expected it to be. Because I think, like I mentioned, sort of idolized Ohio State growing up. And I don't know if maybe they've lived up to the hype so far. I mean, that's just pure speculation. But I just kind of want to see where his head is at with Ohio State. He's also expressed interest in Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss. Kind of how he's wrestling with those SEC schools that I know have his interests. And admittedly, Braeden Jones, like he's not a big like recruiting guy where he's talking to a lot of reporters and keeping in touch with a lot of people. So I've had some trouble connecting with him lately. I've talked to him all the time personally
Yeah.
in the past, but yeah, I just kind of want to get a vibe check, see where he's at with things, and yeah, if I'm feeling pretty good, then I'll fire off my pick for Braeden Jones.
Couple things totally unrelated to the show. Okay, I feel like I did right. It's a little bit more even, Kyle. Do you feel like I got up and moved the camera? Hey, and shout out to Roback for this gear. I got an email from them about like, hey, we're signing a deal with Riley Leonard and Ben Morrison. You want to do a story on it? I said yes. And then this showed up in the mail. So I wore the stadium one the other day on Roback. It's like a little Notre Dame stadium with little shamrocks. And then I usually don't wear anything Notre Dame. I've never worn Notre Dame. Well, no, I probably wore some home field stuff from Notre Dame, but usually I don't wear like Notre Dame branded stuff. But I mean, forgive me, Kyle. Big J journalist over here and wearing gear with the school that I cover. It's usually not something I do, but come on. I mean, you a little jealous, Kyle? I think things pretty sweet.
Well, here's the thing: is they sent you three polos, and instead of divvying up between me, you, Jack, and
Hey,
Tyler, and trying to get a fourth, you took them all for yourself.
listen. I messaged you guys and said, does anyone want to take this article? No one jumped on it. So I feel like it's a lesson, Kyle.
Yeah, this
Sometimes
is true.
you
Yep.
jump on it. The story took me 10 minutes. It's a good thing to learn. It's a good thing to learn. Flexing on your coworker. I mean, it's sweet. So I think we got a good shot of Roback becoming an official sponsor of Blue and Gold too. So maybe if that is if it's our show, Kyle, then you'll get some gear. So it was the two polos which fit tremendously. And this is a free ad, by the way. And then I got a quarter zip, which I know our boy Jack Sobel. Jack, if you're listening, I know you love your quarter zips. So I've got 2 new quarter zips. I got an on-3 quarter zip. I was actually just in South Bend earlier this week for I go up every August to hang out with the blue and gold staff, just some good team building. And I got my boss came up as well, got me an on 3/4 zip, and I got the Notre Dame rowback quarter zip. You know, your boy's wardrobe got a little upgrade this week. Got a little. All right, moving on. Kyle, you're our pronunciation guy. Do you know how to do this one?
I'm pretty sure it's Simote Katoanga. Katoanga. Simote.
Katoanga. That sounds right. Simote Katoanga.
Yeah, I've talked to him. He's a good kid, man. I really like him.
I have not really interacted with him much, and I'm planning to get on the phone with him here soon. It's been a busy week, and kind of dropped the ball a little bit because you don't want to like hit up kids like right before a game, right? Like all these kids have games tomorrow, so I'm trying to like set some interviews up for early next week. But anyway, Simote is one of them. 6'5", 240 pounds, from J. Sarah Catholic, which is of course the high school of Madden Faramo. Huge Notre Dame 2025 linebacker target, and yeah, hearing really good things about him. Just total side note. As I'm thinking about Simote and then just like Polynesian like defensive players Notre Dame's had such success with, tremendous things I'm hearing about Ko'okia, Kyle, and all of the articles. Stock up for him. I'm telling you, Ko'okia, stock up. That's going to be one to keep an eye on. Ko'okia from Honolulu, Punahou. But anyway, Simote, 6'5", 240-pound defensive end, nation's number 262 overall player, number 24 edge, nationally per the On3 industry ranking. Some big-time scholarship offers, Notre Dame, Oregon, Georgia. I don't know why USF's listed so high here. Miami, Washington, Michigan State, and Tennessee. And he's been to Notre Dame a couple times. Twice this year. That's in the span of a month. You got May 20th and then June 17th. Kyle, I'm guessing you caught up with him after both trips?
So the first trip actually kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, so that happens sometimes. Then I know you did catch up with him on the 18th. So he was there for a camp. Notre Dame loves him, from what I'm told. This is a player that was kind of like Notre Dame offers a lot of players, and sometimes it's you do like a major target for us, at least for me, maybe not Kyle, can like go under the radar, be like, oh, this is a really guy to watch, or like, oh, this is someone who I think Notre Dame leads for and has a good shot of getting a commitment from. Simote wasn't on my radar for that, but in talking to Notre Dame sources recently, I was kind of like, yeah, this is someone that is really fitting with this Notre Dame staff. And from my interactions with him so far, quite an awesome young man. So yeah, Kyle, I'll turn it over to you. What do you think about Simote Katoanga?
Yeah, a great prospect from SoCal, and I'm going to use him and Madden Faramo as any leverage I can to go to Los Angeles sometime this fall.
Have you been to LA before? I'm sure you have, right?
Once, and I was there for a week when I went to Northwestern to cover Super Bowl week. So that was pretty sweet, man. I would love to go back, even if it was for a night. Kind of speaking this into existence, flights are cheaper from Detroit.
You're trying to sell me on it.
So, yeah, man. These are some relationships we need to build.
I hear you.
Yeah, man. That Trinity League, as Tim Hyde says, best college or high school football conference in America. So as often as I can get out there, the better. But when you told me you were going to make a Notre Dame pick here, that kind of surprised me. But I do know they are really high on Notre Dame is really high on his list. Oregon is another school that he likes a lot, reflective in the On3 prediction recruiting machine. But one to watch here that, especially Madden Faramo ends up committing to Notre Dame sometime this fall. Who's not to say that Simote could follow in his footsteps sometimes later, and that Notre Dame to J. Sarah Catholic pipeline can get laid down.
Kyle, do you know how many teams are in the Trinity League off the top of your head? I have it pulled up. Do you know how many teams there are?
This is a big range, but I'm gonna go from 12 to 18.
6.
Really?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, we talk about this Trinity League so damn much.
Can I name
6.
them? Can I name them?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not looking. No, I'm
All right,
looking
you're
up.
good. Go ahead.
So, St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, Jacera Catholic, Rancho Santa Margarita Catholic.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure they're
Okay, yes, Santa Margarita. Yes.
And then
Got 2 more.
yeah, Orange Lutheran, who's the
That,
only
all right,
Catholic.
that's 5.
And the 6th one I can't. Servite.
There you go, Kyle.
No, I put that one on for you, Tim.
Oh, there's no shot. Tim's watching. There's no shot.
Maybe I become like the Notre Dame recruiting beat correspondent for the Trinity League.
Oh man, Tim would love that. Kyle, you want to move to LA and just?
I don't know if I'm that much.
LA would be, and just like Southern California, it would be a fantastic spot to cover Notre Dame football recruiting. Like honestly, if you're gonna live somewhere and cover Notre Dame recruiting, the spots from obviously you have South Bend just to be local. South Bend, Chicago, Atlanta, Charlotte. I think now is also not a bad shout, but probably more like tier 2. But you got Chicago, South Bend, Atlanta.
You're gonna miss the biggest one.
LA for me. And then honestly,
you're gonna miss it.
I would throw like Toledo in there. You don't have recruits in your backyard, but you have so many spots to drive to from Toledo. Ann Arbor's easy. You got Cincinnati, Indy, Cleveland, Chicago, all like a day's drive. Long day, but what's the one you're thinking?
No, yeah, Cincinnati. That was the big one.
Especially under Marcus Cincinnati, Toledo. I mean, so yeah, if you live in Toledo and you cover Notre Dame recruiting, it's not a bad spot to be. So
I wonder who lives in Toledo.
Okay, so Simote Katoanga. That's one I'm rolling with sources, big time offer list, but this just seems to be one where everything's clicking between him and Notre Dame. Okay, Trent Mosley from the Trinity League, Santa Margarita Catholic, nation's number 155 overall player, number 24 wide receiver. So his father, Emmett Mosley, the fourth, was a running back receiver for Notre Dame, and Emmett's wife, Trent's mom, Cindy Mosley, was a superstar Notre Dame women's soccer player. She won, I can't remember the name of the award, but she won maybe it's actually right here in this. Never mind, there's no bio for him. She won like the equivalent to the Heisman in women's soccer. So absolute star. Now Trent's older brother, Emmett Mosley, the fifth, Kyle, 4th and 5th. Does that sound right?
That does sound right.
So Emmett Mosley, the 5th, target for Notre Dame. Just never really came together. I don't really know. I never feel like I got the full story on why. I don't know if it was a Notre Dame slowed or Emmett just didn't want to follow in, parents' footsteps, which, it happens. The guy next we're going to talk about, I know Kyle feels like he doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, but my sources talk to is like, yeah, Trent Mosley is one that, Notre Dame feels like it will get. It's just kind of clicking more. So Mosley I reported this a while back. He took like a kind of a low-key visit to Notre Dame. A lot of times when kids visit Notre Dame, about it. Either we hear about it through sources or the kids tweet about it, and that's a pretty obvious one that the visit's happening. Sometimes it just flies under the radar. And then I was told that he visited June 11th. And that trip went really well. I've been trying to get in contact with him for a little while. And you wrote a story about him, looks like in March. So this is one that I think that Notre Dame's going to get this one done. Just a matter of time. Maybe that's a little bold to say, but I think Notre Dame lands Trent Mosley. Offers from 5'10", 170 pounds. Offers from Notre Dame, USC, A&M, Michigan State, Michigan, Oregon, Georgia, Washington, Stanford, Tennessee, Bama, Texas. This kid's big time. Mosley's are a little bit more under the radar in terms of just like the public, how much we're going to talk to media. Like, you don't see the parents out there, posting a whole bunch. Emmett, I don't think either. You go to Trent's Twitter, it's not a whole bunch. But from what I'm being told from sources, Trent Mosley to Notre Dame looks like a highly possible thing. And this would be a nice boost for Notre Dame wide receiver recruiting.
And you know what else I'm hearing, Mike?
What's that?
That whenever Santa Margarita takes on Jesuit Catholic this season, I will be there. I'm going to be in attendance. We're going to find a way to get me out there. So we're going to catch up with Trent, Framo, Simote, all those guys. But
all after a game, huh? You're going to make all that happen?
Well, I'll stop by.
You'll have to go the day before.
In the day, like I like to do, man. Get all my photos, sit down with the recruit, head coach.
Do you know the coaches at those two schools?
At
you do for Madden.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name. He's a good guy.
I knew the coach at Santa Margarita Catholic. I knew him. I just wonder if they had the same coach. I might know the head coach there pretty well. So if that's the case, we might be in business. Yes. I haven't messaged with them in 2 years, but yeah, because Emmett went there. I used to talk to him about Emmett. Okay, so there you go.
But this is kind of going back to just talking about Trent a little bit. This is a guy that Notre Dame, like, he's a must get. Like, I know a couple weeks ago on our show we talked about, I think, the 5 or so must get recruits in the 26 cycle for Notre Dame. And
we both had him on there.
Yeah, we both had Trent Mosley on our list. Just for number one, him being a Notre Dame legacy recruit, him being in the Trinity League, also just the dire need that they have at wide receiver in the 25, and then probably some overlap in the 26 cycle, just dependent on that Notre Dame depth chart. And the other thing, I even mentioned this when I talked about Trent on one of our last shows. Like, he's an absolute dude. Like, he was a co-MVP of the Trinity League as a sophomore. And, like, that league has, like, Kingston Villiamu Asas, like, all over the place. Every team. And Trent Mosley had such an outstanding year as just a sophomore that he came away as a co-MVP of that league. So,
yeah,
really just verifies, how special a player is. And, for me, really increases the priority that he is on Notre Dame's target board.
Yeah. So I got these shelves built in behind me for YouTube. And, I like the Dolphins and the Notre Dame helmet is always going to stay. These things on the wide end, I'm going to switch them out here and there, mix it up. You know where I should go, Kyle, to potentially add some trinkets to these little shelves? It's Augie's locker room. Because you go to Augie's, you find unique memorabilia, one-of-a-kind stuff, and it's at one place, and it is Augie's locker room, which has moved to a brand new location. Maybe I should change the wording there. It's a new location. Maybe it's not brand new at this point, but Augie's has been around for a long time, and they moved locations last fall. It's 1733 North Ironwood Drive. It's just down the street from Notre Dame. So if you're local, if you're in town for a game, whatever the case may be, you got to make time for Augie's. Check out the wide selection of Notre Dame Stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rock and Knee items. Find exclusive Joe Montana signed items. You got the famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's replicas of the bronze statue around the stadium. Some of this stuff all at Augie's locker room, the most unique stuff. If Augie doesn't have something in store, he can go out and find it for you. Again, folks, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you have to go to Augie's locker room. It's just like, it's history in one spot. You got, it's like a little Notre Dame museum. You got to go into Augie's locker room. So visit them, 1733 North Ironwood Drive in South Bend. See the vintage helmet display dating back to 1890. He's got amazing stuff, folks. Go check it out. Augie'sLockerRoom.com. Check out the online store. Give them a call, 574-277-6363. So if you're like, Augie, I checked out your online store, I didn't see this. Do you have this? Can you get it for me? Whatever the case may be, give Augie a call. Tell him Mike Singer from blueandgold.com sent you. So there you go. Augie's locker room. Drew says you guys have to get Blue and Gold to send you to Hawaii. Kyle, you want to go out to Hawaii, dog?
Yeah, I'm looking at flights from Detroit to LA right now. Might as well look what
How
the
did,
points are like.
how was
Uh,
it? Is it reasonable?
Reasonable, man. I think we do it. I think it's the move.
All right, you have your people talk to my people. I'm not actually the person who signs off on Kyle's travel, but I'm in the discussion. So Kyle, we can talk. We can talk. All right. So I mentioned last time or just a minute ago about sometimes recruits don't want to follow in their parents' footsteps. Sometimes they do. From what you've said about Thomas Davis Jr. from Matthews, North Carolina, Weddington High School, like his father was a standout at Georgia and then played for the Carolina Panthers for a little over a dozen years. Maybe he, if he gets that Georgia offer, maybe he doesn't follow in his father's footsteps. But from what I'm being told, I like Notre Dame here. Clemson, Penn State, Michigan. Like this is very much one where it's a projection. Like when I predict Mark Zachary to Notre Dame last year in August, I remember thinking I don't even know if Notre Dame leads right now. To be completely honest with you, I'm kind of rolling with my sources, thinking that hey, over time Notre Dame is going to take the lead here. Ohio State's going to fade away, and that's what happened. Partly due to Ohio State really loading up on some big time defensive backs, but it's neither here nor there. Mark Zachary ends up Notre Dame. So Thomas Davis Jr., 6'2", 210 pounds, nation's number 120 overall player, number 10 linebacker. Yeah. I mean, some really good visits to Notre Dame, Kyle. Trip in March went fantastic. The grill and chill visits, Notre Dame, excuse me, did a really good job. And this just seems like a prospect. Like when you go to a player's profile and you see visits 2 years ago, what that signals to me is that this young man got his recruiting process started pretty early, and the earlier you get your recruitment going, the more likely you are to make an early commitment because you've been through it all. Maybe you're a little burned out from the process. Davis Jr. is one for me that I could see him popping this year. Kyle, what are your thoughts on this big time linebacker from the Charlotte area?
There was a story earlier this week that I posted on Blue Gold that I had a lot of fun writing. It was about 6 Notre Dame or 6 NFL legacy recruits that I think should be on Notre Dame's radar. So if you want to read that, go hop on Blue and Gold. It's a premium story. We have some great deals coming down the pipeline.
We do next week.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, so feel free to hop on and read that story if you haven't yet. But when I was doing my research on, kind of Notre Dame's success recruiting the sons of NFL players, pretty remarkable under Marcus Freeman and Chad Bowden. They've, well, first off, there's 6 guys on the Notre Dame roster that are NFL legacy guys. Every one of them, besides Howard Cross, was recruited by Marcus Freeman and or Chad Bowden. And then you go over to the 2025 class, there are another 6 guys that are NFL legacy recruits, at least, in some capacity. Like I know Jadon Blair's father, Jawarn Blair, didn't really play like many seasons in the NFL, but did have some stints with the Browns and Bagels.
Yep.
So Notre Dame, it's a long way of saying they're very successful recruiting the NFL legacy recruits. Thomas Davis Jr., obviously the son of Thomas Davis Sr., who played, I think, 16 years in the NFL between the Panthers, Commanders, and there's another team in there. I forget who. But, they're located in North Carolina now. A place that Notre Dame's also been very successful recruiting in Marcus Freeman. Georgia has yet to get involved for TJ Davis, which if they do, I think that could be something to watch. But also, as I've kind of echoed in my stories and on here and on the Loose Emoji message board, I really think that TJ Davis wants to pave his own path. And Max Bola and Al Golden, Notre Dame's linebackers coach and defensive coordinator, doing a heck of a job in this recruitment, connecting very well with Thomas Davis Jr. And that's why I felt comfortable following you and putting a pick in the RPM.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Commitment.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I did that in the Gold Standard article that I ran Tuesday, and then you followed up yesterday with a prediction of your own. Let me see. Kyle's at 91% of his all-time picks because he's logged 12. Oh, well, I mean, I'll give you 12 for 12. You predicted Ivan Taylor. And I don't know why. If someone commits, you log a prediction for Ivan Taylor to go to Notre Dame and he commits and then he decommits later. That shouldn't be a wrong pick to me. Like I don't like that. I don't like that. So I'll give you 12 for 12, and then we'll see on Thomas Davis Jr. Feel pretty. You like your 100% hit right here?
For now, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how things play out. Because he's not in a rush to make a decision. Sounds like I think he's going to want to see Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan this year. Maybe Clemson. Those are the 4 schools I'm watching. I know I've talked to you about Tennessee being a sneaky sleeper just because of how well they've recruited North Carolina under Josh Heupel. So those are some of the schools I'm looking at for TJ Davis. But ultimately, I do have the utmost confidence in Notre Dame being the one to pull it off.
So yours says average days correct. I think this means how long of a span there was in your commitment or the prediction. You're at 16 days, Kyle. You know what your boy Mike Singer's at?
Probably like 66 days.
55.8.
Yeah.
Come on. Moving along. Mel Blade, another Chicago kid. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull up my notes real quick on Blade. Sometimes so many Chicago defensive linemen, Kyle, we get them all mixed up. Or at least I get them all mixed up. There's just really is a lot. This was a recruitment that, like, I think I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more to take place. Like, I don't know if this is gonna be like a cut and dry one. But I think that this one ends like it's Kyle. Is he the one who's talking about the SEC schools, or was that Braeden Jones?
Braeden Jones for now, yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't see Braeden Jones going to the SEC, and I think as Mel Blade's recruitment goes on, I think it's going to be more apparent for him that it's gonna be Notre Dame. And he was at Hillcrest before, and now he's at Chicago Simeon, which is of course where a Notre Dame fellow defensive line commit Chris Burgess goes to high school. So Burgess, shout out Chris Burgess, someone who when he committed, I was like, I don't know if this one's gonna stick. Yeah, it's sticking. Like he is locked in with the Irish. So I think you got Chris Burgess in Blade's ear a good bit. This is like what you want. It's like Notre Dame does not have a big local recruiting base like a Georgia, your Florida, your USC. They just do. Chicago is Notre Dame's best local recruiting base. It's just it's an hour and a half away, hour 15, whatever it is, depends on the day, I guess, from South Bend, Chicago. But this is what you want. You want to build strong inroads at schools, get a kid committed, and then he helps recruit his teammates that Notre Dame's recruiting. That's what we're seeing with Burgess and Blade. But yeah, this is one that I feel like could have some twists and turns, but I do feel comfortable predicting, which I did again a couple days ago, predicting him to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I like that pick. That's another one that I'm really close to making as well. The only reason I haven't is just because, Mel Blade basically – he hasn't even gotten to the point in his recruitment where he's kind of ranking schools in his head. Like, obviously, he's been to Notre Dame enough to know that he really, really likes them. But I don't know if he's actually begun, like, considering a commitment to them yet. He did go down to Miami after his Notre Dame visit in July, and I know the Hurricanes made a pretty good impression on him. Miami's did really well recruiting Chicago kids, landing Justin Scott and Marquise Lightfoot on the defensive line in the last cycle. But I think this recruitment is going to be a lot like the Christopher Burgess one, where Christopher Burgess pretty much was recruited by every power conference school in the country. Like, if there was a school that Christopher Burgess wanted to go to, he probably could have gone there. But he ended up going to Notre Dame, and I think that's going to be the case with Mel Blade. I think he wants to stay closer to home. That's a big deal for him, and it's certainly not going to hurt him being on the same D line as Burgess now this season. So I'm looking for Notre Dame to continue that Chicago to South Bend pipeline, especially on the defensive line.
All right, we've been through 6 of my new predictions, and here's number 7. I'll completely admit, like, this is one that I don't feel super confident yet. Like, I'm not saying I feel super confident in any of the 7, but like of the 7, this is the one I feel the least confidence in. How about that? But part of, again, I go back to, this is not like, these predictions are not just something I'm pulling out of my rear end and just I'm talking to, like, I take these predictions seriously, so I'm talking to different people, very connected. And I think just coming from the Notre Dame side of things, even though he's visited Penn State, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, all more than he's been to Notre Dame. He's just been there once. That was in June. I think that was just a few weeks after the Irish offered him. But just going to what the vibe is on the Notre Dame side of things and how well his first trip to campus went, and just conversations between Mike Brown, a fellow Virginia native, and Salmin, like just the vibes and the, hey, how strong of a fit he is at Notre Dame. It's a projection. I think Penn State could have an argument that they think they're the leader in Salmin's recruitment. He has been there. Did I say he had been there on the most? He's been there 3 times. So yeah, I think if you're Penn State, you think you're going to get him. But Salmin told me yesterday, I even reported this, because there's not really a whole lot to report, but he told me he is aiming for the Florida State game. I'll probably throw that in an article tonight, so YouTube audience got that first. But yeah, he's looking at visiting Notre Dame for the Florida State game, November 9th. This is just one. I say one. It's really all of them. Long, like we're these predictions are far in advance. They're not something where, hey, he's announcing next week, I think Notre Dame's going to get him, because I damn well know he's already going to Notre Dame. These are projections. It's going to be a few months. When I did the August ones last year, you had Daniel Anderson committed, a month and a half later, and then like James Flanagan 3 months later. Otherwise, they were all into like 2024. Making those picks in 2023. So yeah, Salmin might be a little ways off, but I think Notre Dame's going to be a huge contender here, and I'm projecting them to end up getting this one done. So Kyle, what do you think? What do you think about Salmin? And then if I'm right on these 2 receiver picks, Salmin and Mosley, okay, now we're receiver recruiting, cooking with gas here.
So I mentioned on the Loose Emoji message board, and I think on Twitter, that when you posted these picks, that there were 4 that I felt pretty confident in and 3 that I was a little bit questionable with. And the 3 that I was questionable with were Simote, Connor Salmin, and one more who we have not talked about yet, Tyler Merrill,
Yeah.
offensive lineman.
Okay, good call.
Yeah, Pennsylvania area. So kind of my skepticism with Connor Salmin is just because there's some really heavy hitters in this recruitment when you look at like LSU and Ohio State. And I know Ohio State wide receivers coach Brian Hartline, at least what his record shows, that if there's a guy and he wants him, he pretty much always lands him. So I'll be curious to see how much Ohio State prioritizes Salmin, because he's a dude. Like, he is one of the fastest guys in the country. He just transitioned to wide receiver last season. He had like 1,100 yard campaign. And this was one that I said a couple of weeks ago, like, this is a recruitment that Mike Brown has to win for Notre Dame. Like, this is the Mike Brown recruitment. This would be like his marquee recruiting victory as Notre Dame's wide receivers coach, I'd say. Like, both Salmin and Brown being from Virginia, like, this is one he has to get done. And I do, like, if I had to, kind of do like a mock class of, Notre Dame's 26 class, I would put Salmin in it. So that's why, I although I'm not fully on board with the pick, is why I do kind of understand your thinking behind it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the 3 that you're not feeling as good about, I do agree with you on Salmin, but Merrill, who we'll talk about in a second, and Simote are 2 that I actually feel pretty strong about. So we'll see. But yeah, it's never easy to go into PA and land Penn State kids. We know that. And on the offense line, it's difficult too. But we'll see. I think of the 7, I ended up getting 5 right. I think I'm gonna go 5 for 7.
That's
Ain't no
fair.
way I'm going. Probably end up being 4-7. Ain't no way I'm going 8 for 8 again. Folks, time to hear from one of our sponsors, Rogue Shop, the husband and wife outfit. Mr. Rogue and his wife Shar are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch sustainable plant medicine, a true holistic type of small business. They farm and grow everything themselves, all their products made by hand. Check out their website. It's rogueshop.com, ROGUE shop.com. They sell such a wide variety of things. And, I feel like every time I go to the website, I see something new. You got CBD, THC, edibles, tinctures, smokables, bath salts, pain creams, topicals, vapes, candles, soaps, CBD and THC beverages. Folks, a lot of stuff. Website has a 24/7 chat feature. So if you're ever curious, want some answers about some things, you can hop on and talk to Mr. Rogue and his wife, Shar. So check it out, rogueshop.com. Again, ROGUE shop.com. If you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, and or have anxiety, stress issues, rogueshop.com. All right, Tyler Merrill from Mechanicsburg, PA, Cumberland Valley, nation's number 67 overall player, number 5 interior offensive lineman, the number 2 prospect from his home state. Think this one ends up being just a dogfight between the Fighting Irish and Penn State. The visits to Notre Dame have gone really well. You got 4 trips to South Bend since June of 2023. Obviously, he's been to Penn State a bunch. 3 times this year. Looks like a bunch. His sophomore, maybe even his freshman year of high school. Michigan's still going to be a contender in this one as well. But I think as time goes on, it's going to be more clearly Notre Dame Penn State battle. And I don't really know what else to say. I know Noah Grubbs is working on Tyler Merrill really hard, but Notre Dame sources just feel like those conversations with this young man lead to him developing into a strong Notre Dame lean as time goes on. And I think that Notre Dame's going to end up being able to get this one done. Kyle, what do you think?
I just talked about the recruitments that Mike Brown has to win, and this is
Big one.
Yeah,
Joe Rudolph.
Yeah, Joe Rudolph's got to win. Being from Pennsylvania, I know that Joe Rudolph has already made a tremendous impression on Merrill's head coach, Josh Oswalt, there at Cumberland Valley. And there are coaches in that area that think very highly of Tyler Merrill. But I do know that James Franklin, the head coach at Penn State, also does a pretty fantastic job of keeping those top players in state. It always seems like the top guys in Pennsylvania are all flocking to State College to play for the Nittany Lions. So we'll have to see how this recruitment unfolds. I'm with you that I think it's a Notre Dame, Penn State, and I'll throw in Michigan battle. I think those are going to be the 3 schools really in it for him. And I think Notre Dame's done a tremendous job beating Michigan in head-to-head recruiting battles in general, but also on the offensive line lately. And, that kind of marquee win was Rocco Spindler up in the Michigan area, or Clarkson, Michigan area a couple cycles ago. So Notre Dame, they got all their tackles in the 2025 cycle. Now they're really going to be hammering the 25 interior line pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the guys that are out there and the guys that Notre Dame are getting traction with, I think Merrill's the top one.
Yeah. It's going to be an inside offensive line class, or heavy on the inside offensive line, interior, for the 26 class after going pretty tackle heavy. Kyle, the last 2 topics of the show, your captain candidates in the story you just published today, storylines, we're going to save that to next week. But I did want to talk about my trip to see Notre Dame class of 2026 quarterback commit Noah Grubbs. This young man is 6'4.5", 195 pounds, nation's number 121 overall player, number 10 quarterback, according to the On3 industry ranking. Picked the Irish June 1st over Florida, Michigan, Ohio State, North Carolina, Miami, big time prospect. And Kyle, we got to see him during the Irish Invasion camp in the day after he committed to Notre Dame. That would have been June 2nd. And I was really looking forward to getting down to Orlando area to see him in action against Oviedo High School. It was just a preseason kickoff classic, but um, Grubbs ended up playing like 85% of the game. I was happy that it ended up being a fairly close game. I thought it was going to be a blowout, but it ended up being a 40-18 win. So, until Lake Mary got the last touchdown to put it, make it a 22-point game, it was within like one to two scores throughout the game. So that they wanted to keep playing Grubbs and go up big on their like crosstown type rival in Oviedo. There's a lot of like social media trash talk before this preseason game. So both teams took it pretty seriously, like it was, a regular season game. And Grubbs had a up and down, mostly up game. He forced a couple balls that were picked off. 18 of 31, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yeah, I mean the RPO game for him is really good. Like he makes really quick decisions. He did not get touched in terms of pass rush on him. He just gets the ball out so quick. Now, I think on the couple picks, which are actually in this footage for folks watching on YouTube. This is one. He overthrew number 18 there, and then ended up just kind of dropping in behind. And then the other pick was one that he just got the throw wrong. It was a corner route. He threw it shallow. Should have got it over top, but Oviedo was pretty bold in running like cover 0 all night long, like just bringing pressure and no safety. So Lake Mary was pretty just dicing them up in the middle of the field, and with Grubbs getting the ball out. And from what I was told, Lake Mary was pretty vanilla. They didn't want to give away too much. They got a big road game for their first regular season game of the season at Cardinal Gibbons down in Fort Lauderdale, I believe. So they don't want to go show up too much on the on tape. But in terms of just like Grubbs as a quarterback, I mean, he's big, he's more mobile than you might think. That's not like the number one part of his game. But he can extend plays, pick up some yards. But it's the size that's 6'4.5", 200 pounds, and then his arm, quick release, quick decision making, can make a lot of throws. He's got pretty high upside. And he's been playing since his freshman year of high school. I believe the starting quarterback when he was a freshman went down. He comes in, plays well the rest of this freshman year. As a sophomore, just lit it up in the Lake Mary offense. That's pretty pass happy. And then expecting a huge junior season from him. So there's the pick. Like he just got the throw all wrong. Maybe a little miscommunication with his receiver, but expecting a pretty big year from Noah Grubbs, Notre Dame quarterback commit in the 2026 class. Kyle, do you have any thoughts on anything you saw there, or any clips you got to see me tweet throughout that night or anything like that?
Well, you did excellent job with your report there.
Thank you.
A lot of details on what you saw that game, and I was just kind of curious, man, because you got to see Noah Grubbs. We were both there on June 2nd at the Irish Invasion, but you were covering him a little bit more closely than me. So I was just kind of wondering if you saw any similarities or differences in Grubbs' game compared to when we saw him, earlier this summer in South Bend.
Yeah. They just look so much like, how do I say this? When they're in pads, you just see it more like physically. I don't know. There's something about it to me. Like, yeah, his Irish Invasion was good. it was good. It didn't he didn't blow me away that day. I was a lot more impressed, seeing it all together in the Friday night setting in his offense. But to be completely honest, I thought him and Deuce Knight both looked fine that day, but neither of them blew me away at the Irish Invasion camp. Would you agree with that assessment?
It's always hard for me to comment on the offensive players' performances at Irish Invasion.
I do send you to defense, but one-on-ones, you were there for the one-on-ones, right?
Yeah, still there was. I can't remember. Was there a lot of quarterbacks this year? I think
there was a ton.
Yeah, so
of quarterbacks. There was too many quarterbacks.
Yeah, we didn't get to see a ton of one-on-one reps.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they both looked fine. But again, I wasn't just blown away. But I was more impressed on Friday night with Grubbs. Just again, you see him in the setting that he knows his receivers more. There's just something different about the Friday nights versus the camp for some of these quarterbacks. The footwork, what he's doing and those RPOs and stuff, it's more comfortable to what you go to a camp and they're asking you to do things maybe you've never done before in a certain warm-up drill or something like that. So I thought you were going to ask me to compare him to CJ Carr. That's where I thought you were going with that. You kind of caught me off guard because I was preparing to answer that question. I think Carr is a better athlete than Grubbs, but I think Grubbs has more arm talent and just more. I think Grubbs is maybe more of a boomer bust compared to Grubbs, if that makes sense. I think Carr is a no-brainer. He's going to be a really good quarterback at Notre Dame. Grubbs, to me, if he pops, he's a high draft pick, in my opinion. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, Mr. Kelly.
Jet Cone, no Grubbs comparisons.
Yeah, Jack Cone didn't have the strongest arm. I think Grubbs may already have more arm talent than Cone, but Cone could get it out there pretty quickly. I think even their throwing motions could be a little bit similar as well. Now I'm just thinking about just Cone throwing the ball in my head, but I don't hate it. So maybe there's a Carr Cone mix there.
I was thinking more Cone Grubbs.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Cone Grubbs is got a little mix of Cone and Carr, if that makes sense. So. Mark with glasses, my buddy's here. He says, "Singer's looking fresh and sunny, man. Roback, hook me up. Roback, hook me up." Folks, if you have not done so yet, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will not have any YouTube programming until next Monday. So if you still need your Notre Dame fix, Tyler and Jack had a show last night. Me and Tim did Tuesday night. Tyler and Darren Pritchett did a video. I did a video with Darren Pritchett. We have a ton more on our Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you missed anything. And if you watched all that, you can go to blueandgold.com. This, Kyle, we think this deal's still going on, this $1 for 2 months. Yeah?
Like I've said in the past, if this one doesn't work, try Fong One.
Fong1.
For $1 for 1 month.
Fong1, Fong1. There you
go. Fong1.
And then Monday, we are going to have a pretty neat sale that you guys are going to check out. So it'll be on my Twitter account, Kyle's Twitter account. We'll be tweeting it out on Monday. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to end the show there. We'll be back next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you're just joining us, rewind, watch the beginning of the show. We talked about some good stuff, my 7 new predictions for Notre Dame in the 2026 class. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, we will catch you next time.